No, it's working. Okay, just looking at Philip's brilliant pictures, you'd almost swear we had a summer, but we didn't have very much of a summer, I have to say. It was a bit disappointing. And according to the gossip on the streets, it's going to get worse pretty quickly. My daughter came home yesterday and said, Dad, it's going to be snowing in October. Look forward to that. Start of the summer, things went well. We had a reasonably good noctilucent and cloud season. Noctilucent and clouds around about June. And this is a photograph taken by John McConnell down by Mora. Very nice. And, it was on Space Weather. Very nice one. And we actually had it in Bangor. That's a photograph I took from the golf club in Carnarvon. That's very good.
Sorry on there, isn't it?
You're ruining, I don't mind you ruining John's, but I don't want you ruining mine. That's perfect. Thank you. Okay, very nice. If you haven't seen noctilucent clouds, I think that was probably the strongest display of noctilucent clouds that I've ever seen. This was just a wee view out through the front garden, out towards Whitehead over here. But fabulous display. That's about 2 o'clock in the morning. So I decided to go around to the golf club and take a photograph in the golf club. And there wasn't a parking space. Don't ask me why, I don't know what's Anyway, it was absolutely fabulous. The sun, we'll start with the sun as usual. The sun has been active all through the summer, just not in Northern Ireland, but it's been very active in terms of sunspots, in terms of activity on its surface. And in fact, Peter was telling me, was it 2 or 3 days ago, Peter, there were 9 active sunspot regions?
17, there were 11.
11. Started off about 13, but I think we've decided it's about 11. And that's as many as there has been for a long time. So that's pretty active. That's the sun today, and there's quite a few active regions on the sun, as you can see. And this is a montage which Peter sent me on yesterday's solar disk. Very late last night, Peter. Thank you very much indeed. And you can see there's a huge great sunspot quite close to the centre here, and there's a few others sprinkled around the disk. So very, very active sun at the moment. Just in case anybody hasn't or isn't familiar with observing the sun, you should never look at the sun at all with any form of optical aid or with your eyes, unless the telescope is properly filtered or you project the image. And we can certainly show you how to do that. But the sun is increasingly active, and this was a photograph taken, I think it was in August, and the object circle, believe it or not, is Atlantis. That was probably the last photograph of the space shuttle that was taken. I didn't take it, but you can see it's coming into a nice conjunction with those sunspots there. But poor old Atlantis, no more space shuttles at all. This is a photograph taken with the NASA's SOHO telescope, and you can see this bit in the middle is where they blank out the sun because it's so bright. But you can see the sun is hugely active, throwing lots of material out into space. And of course, if that material gets as far as Earth, as that one did, you get a nice aurora. And this was an aurora over Norway, I think it was. Sorry, it was Michigan. Yeah, Michigan. And you can just see the bit of the plough coming down there, the top corner. So auroras are very much on the radar at the moment. But the talk tonight actually is on comets. So I thought I would include this wee image. And you can see here a little sun-grazing comet. And unfortunately, he went a little bit too far, and he got sucked into the sun. And there's quite a few of this, or quite a bit of this happens actually. We're part of a family of comets, and maybe Mark will tell us a little bit more about them later on. Actually, there was an aurora last night. Again, I don't know that anyone in Northern Ireland saw it, but it was quite a nice one here. I think this one was from Norway. And you can see at the moment, this is a photograph of the sun in ultraviolet. There's 2 of these coronal holes, which are hopefully going to send some material in our direction. And you never know, we might get an aurora over the next couple of days. Last week was the harvest moon. The harvest moon so called because before they had electric lights, the farmers used to bring in their harvest under the light of the moon around about the autumn equinox. And if you get a really, really bright moon, you might be lucky enough to get a moon bow. Has anybody ever seen a moon bow? Yeah, some people have seen one. I've never seen one. I keep on going out in full moon and hoping that it'll rain. But anyway, this is Martin McKenna, who some of you may know up around Macrofeld. And Martin got another moon bow. I think he said he's got something like 12 or something to his credit, which is pretty spectacular. And he says that's the best one ever. And again, you can see the plough just sitting at the top of the photograph. But here's somebody who went one better. He got a moon bow and he got an aurora in the same photograph. That's pretty special. I have to say, I've never seen anything quite like that. Just looks like that one wee cloud was raining here, and he managed to get the moonbow out of it. The moonbow is exactly the same as a rainbow, but obviously you only get it at night. Okay, turning to the sky. The autumn sky is beautiful. It's probably the best time of the year to observe, and the temperatures aren't too bad. You still see the summer triangle. The summer triangle, 3 bright stars that are gradually pushing over into the western part of the sky, but they're still on view. But more and more, the great square of Pegasus is moving around into the southern part of the sky, and should be visible every evening. The Plough itself is lying low on the north, just above the northern horizon, and of course the 2 stars from the Plough point straight to Polaris, the pole star, which is not the brightest star in the sky, just in case anybody's confused. Anyway, there's lots of interesting things in the sky at the moment. One of the brightest, in fact the brightest asteroid, an asteroid or minor planet called Vesta, is visible in the sky at the moment. And here you can see its movement from the start of September. It started moving in this direction to the west, and then it stopped at the moment, right? It's sitting right there, and it's going to move back again. And it's very close to this star called Psi Capricornus. And Capricornus, just the previous view was really lying quite low in the southern part of the sky. So if you want to see Vesta, you get a view of it. Unfortunately, you not get a view like this. This is a view taken by NASA's Dawn spacecraft, which has just visited Vesta. So an opportunity to have an Earth view of Vesta. The big star at the moment, star attraction at the moment, is Jupiter. And anybody who goes out right about 10, 11 o'clock, you can't fail to see a very, very bright object in the southeastern part of the sky. Well, it's Jupiter at the moment. And that was a photograph which John Hall sent me a week or so ago. And you can see, you got a period of nice seeing there. You can see a lot of detail in the equatorial belts. You can see these 2 belts, and you can actually see one of the moons up here. Also, this thing using a little webcam. Very easy to get photographs of Jupiter. And here's another one taken from Donegal. Very brilliant image, actually, taken by James Adamson. Again, skies in Donegal are superb, and you can see again a couple of the Galilean moons in the photograph. This is a slightly different view of Jupiter, and this is a view, believe it or not, of the Hubble Space Telescope crossing Jupiter. It's amazing what these guys can photograph now, but here you can see the Hubble Space Telescope and Jupiter together. Amazing. Okay, it's a good time as well to see Mars. Now Mars is pretty poor at the moment, it's still very far away. It's got a little tiny disk, but it rises about 2 o'clock in the morning. So if you're up really late and you look down into the eastern part of the sky and you see a star which looks quite bright and reddish into it, the likelihood is it's Mars. But at the end of this month, Mars is going to move through this beautiful little cluster. It's called the Beehive Cluster in Presby in Cancer. And about the 1st or 2nd of October, it'll go straight through Presby. You might remember last year, it came very close, and we were pretty much clouded out, but a couple of us got some photographs of it. But that's to look out for. Beautiful sight with binoculars. Best way to look at it is probably with your telescopes. Uranus is still on view as well. If you can find Jupiter and you look over towards the west, you might be able to find Uranus, which is very, very close to Jupiter last year. It's moved a little bit further towards the west. Also, Neptune's on view. Neptune, even through a telescope, just looks like a little blue star, but it's quite close to the star Iota Aquarius. Again, quite close to the southern part of the sky. A very good time to look for Neptune. There was some opportunities to see some stuff across the summer, and one of the fine summer objects was Comet Ganymede, which was an interesting enough comet. I don't think it ever got to naked eye brightness. A couple of people said that it did. I don't think it did. This was a photograph which I took from the back garden. You can see that the comet's this bit here. In this particular photograph, the comet has been held still and the stars are moving. That's why you've got all these lines on it. But quite nice. It developed a sort of a stubby tail, which you could see in the telescope. Couldn't really see it with binoculars, but there you go. The one good thing about the comet, it passed a number of very nice objects. This is a little star. This is a globular star cluster in Sagitta, and it was quite nice. And some of the photographs, some of the guys picked out the nice green colour. But this is another fine object. It's called the coat hanger. It's a little inverted coat hanger here, you can see. And as Terry pointed out, if it had been the other way around, the comet could have been hanging off the coat hanger. But anyway, it was quite a nice comet. There were also a couple of supernovas over the last couple of weeks. There was a fairly dim one. It seems in this photograph it's around about sort of 13 or 14th magnitude, which is very, very dim. An M51. M51 you'll know is the Whirlpool Nebula. And more recently there's another supernova just over the last couple of weeks. Actually it was on the Tea-Time News, and that supernova is in the Face-on Spiral galaxy M101. Messier 101. Terry was talking about the Messier objects earlier on. And that's just in Ursa Major. I took a photograph of this the other night. This isn't it, but that supernova is easy to see with a telescope, and it appears very, very easily in my photograph. So it's still quite bright. Supernovas are some of the most powerful explosions in the universe. We've had two in the last couple of weeks. Let's hope we don't have another one anywhere near us. But they're generally caused by, in this type 1 supernova, they're caused by a white dwarf, a super dense white dwarf, and more or less at the end of its life, but it's quite close to another star which is drawing off its atmosphere, and eventually the core collapses in the white dwarf and there's a huge bang. For a short period, that single star will shine almost as bright as the 100,000 million stars in the whole galaxy. So supernovas, quite rare, but phenomenal explosions. Okay, last photograph, and just in case there's any doubters still out there, NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Observer has returned some beautiful images of the tracks left around Apollo 17. Somebody said, we should have could have faked the photographs, but come on, not at all. But you can see the little descent stage here setting, you can even see the flag, and that's the sort of resolution that these satellites are pushing back at us now. So there you are. Good place to yeah. I thought there was a couple of astronauts over here as well, but no, it's just the astronauts' footprints. Okay, Phil, thank you very much.
Thank you.